Hi, we are the Group 1 of Section F and E. Today we are going to tackle about end of galleon trade, the opening of Suez Canal, the opening of ports to world trade, and the rise of export crop economy and monopolies. Hi, my name is Rob and I'm going to discuss about the end of galleon trade. It has helped to fashion the very society of the Philippines, which relied upon its income, its merchandise, and its service of Chinese, Malay, and other participants. Approximately 500 years ago, an Augustinian farer discovered a sea current, making it possible to travel across the Pacific Ocean from west to east in a single commercial route for the first time in history. That's how the Manila-Acapulco galleon trade came to be. The term Manila Galleon was used to refer the trade route between Manila and Acapulco, though the Philippines was already trading with other Asian and other neighboring countries even before the arrival of country's Spaniards colonizer. The Spaniard government continued the trading relation and made the Manila the center of commerce in the east. Though Manila continued to trade with other countries until the Spaniards closed the import ports. Spanish sailing vessels made annual trips across the Pacific between Manila and Acapulco during the period 1565 to 1850. Two galleons were used for the trade, one which sailed the Acapulco to Manila, which took about 120 days at sea, and other from Manila to Acapulco, spending 90 days at sea. Because it took longer from Acapulco to Manila due to the weight of the silver. This became a means of communication between countries and served as an economic lifeline for the Spaniards in the Philippines. Manila Galleon became a pivotal business for the Spaniard colonizer that they came to depend on the annual vessel that the colony would sometimes come to an economic depression if a ship went down or was captured by the pirates. Due to the long travel, uh, casualty has been made. Majority of goods coming from the Philippines bound to Acapulco and some parts of the Europe came from China. Manila then became a focus for trade between China and Europe. Common products sold or traded via the Manila Galleon trade was Chinese porcelain, Indian fabrics, diamonds, and other minerals, silk, and ivory. Manila was almost a Chinese city with huge migration of Chinese due to the trade, which led to Manila's Chinatown being the oldest and one of the biggest. Manila became a gateway to multiple countries not only for being the trading post where goods were assembled and re-exported, but also for mediating information between the countries involved. One of the positive results of the Manila Galleon was the intercultural exchange between countries. The Filipinos are mixed races today due to the other culture and other DNAs. The galleon trade between Manila and Philippines and Mexico ended a few years before the latter's War of Independence against Spain. The trade lasted for 250 years, starting from 1565 and ended on September 14, 1815, in the span of which 110 ships crossed the Pacific Ocean.
The opening of the Suez Canal. The Suez Canal is actually an artificial sea level waterway in Egypt connecting the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Before the opening of this canal, travel and trading between Europe and Asia, including the Philippines, would have to pass for south of Africa, making the travel and trading long of more than 2 months, as what you see in the photo. Thus, to create an alternate route, the Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea were linked through this canal. The idea of linking both seas dates back to 40 centuries, as it was pointed out through history, starting with the Pharaoh's era, passing by the Islamic era until it was dredged, reaching its current condition today. The Pharos dredged a canal linked in between River Nile and the Red Sea. Now, for everybody's information, the River Nile flows into the Mediterranean Sea. Also, this canal is considered to be the first artificial canal to be used in travel and trade. Now, if you're wondering about the making of the Suez Canal, you should be able to see a summary of the making of it in this slide. It started way back from 1799 up to 1876. On 1833, St. Simonians arrived in Cairo, which is the capital of Egypt, and they became very interested in the then Suez project. In 1835, they were devastated by a plague epidemic, and it was on 1846 that they studied the possibility of the Suez Canal once again. Fast forward, it was completed in 1869 and it grew into one of the world's most heavily traveled shipping lanes in 1876. More importantly, this was then the shortest link between the East and the West, which greatly reduced the travel time from the Philippines to Spain. The canal was called the crossroad of Europe, Africa, and Asia. Before opening the canal, the Philippines had become a colonial outlier because of its limited infrastructure, sheer length of travel to Spain, where communications had to be sailed either via the Americas and the Pacific, or again by going around the continent of Africa, which would require a really long time for travel and could be dangerous as well. After the opening of the Suez Canal, things dramatically changed as it brought the Philippines closer to Spain. Now, the geographical position of such canal makes it of special importance to the world and to Egypt as well. This positively affected the trade in the Philippines with an increased demand in agriculture products and expanded volume of exports. Philippines was developed both as a source of raw materials and as a market for manufactured goods, leading to its direct commercial relation with Spain, and no longer has to sail under Africa, which I mentioned before. The canals also signaled urgent financial and ideological opportunities to the Philippines as a result, and also it paved the way for the Filipino, quote, ilustrados, or the Filipinos with money and education before, which includes the famous Jose Rizal and Juan Luna, to study in Europe. Now, with the opening of the Suez Canal, also came books and newspapers from Europe and America, which contain ideas like freedom and equality. So having access to Europe, Filipinos became more exposed to new ideas of freedom and started to question the Spanish rule. These are the advantages of the Suez Canal aside from the obvious ones I previously mentioned. It is the longest canal in the world without locks, and the accidents are almost zero compared with other waterways. Navigation goes day and night. The canal is liable to be widened and deepened when required to cope with the development in ship sizes and tonnages. With the adaptation of the vessel traffic management system, or a system depending upon the most up-to-date radar network, vessels can be monitored and followed on every spot of the canal, and intervention in emergency cases can be taken.
Opening of ports to world trade. Reasons behind opening of port to world trade. Location. Manila was a great harbor because of the shape of its bay, which protects trade boats from raw water. It became one of the best cities to trade with. Growing number of merchants. A large number of the foreign merchants in Manila boasted in integration of international commercial system of the Philippines, which was connected to the industrialized Europe and North America. Royal Company bankruptcy. By the late 18th century, The changes in the Europe politically and economically affected Spain and thus Philippines. As long as the galleon trade continued its work, there was a small encouragement of the Spanish Empire to promote the development of the Philippines. Governor Jose Basco y Vargas introduced to let the Philippines join to the trade with other countries, but his proposal was ignored. After his departure, the royal company produced lower profits, which led to the fall of economic societies. The independence of Mexico in 1821, which ended the galleon trade and the subsides from Mexican was cut off, made of commercial isolation less feasible for Spain. Governor General Felix Berungur de Marquina recommended the Spanish king to open Manila to world trade. On September 6, 1834, a royal decree was declared by Su Majestad, or Your Majesty. The king formally recognized free trade, opening the port of Manila to unrestricted foreign commerce. The end of the galleon trade. Filipinos' contribution in the Manila-Acapulco trade was in the construction of the galleon. They provide the manpower to cut timbers in the mountain regions of Luzon. Filipinos were placed under the most rigorous labor program since the galleon construction is labor-intensive. Manila-Acapulco trade was abolished in 1815. Spain slowly liberalized Philippines to international commerce. At first, some Asians and Europeans were allowed to trade with Manila with their own ships and flags. Manila port was officially opened to international trade in 1834. The 19th century was crucial to the economic history of the world and produced significant changes in the economy of the country. An increase in trade and navigation in Asia profoundly affects the Philippines in different sectors. First, industrialization. Second, literature. Third, agricultural sector.
For the last topic, it's about the rise of export, corrupt economy, and monopolies. Here are the factors which affected imports and exports: the piracy, rebellions, early colonies of Spain in the Philippines, industrial revolution, and fiscal policy. The next one is, in times of Spanish reign, Manila was known by almost all colonial parts across globe because of its imports goods like tobacco from Ilocos and abaca from Bicol that made Manila as Manila cigar, Manila hemp, and Manila paper. It helped the Filipinos or the local labor to be known and to be called Manila men or Philippines Islanders. The Philippine trade was managed by the Apoderado de Comercio, agent of the Philippine Commerce, that supervised the arrival of Chinese goods and negotiate with the Mexican officials regarding the import-export. Other factors which affected imports-exports is the galleon trade, because before the conquer of Spain, local tradition allowed for Filipinos to raid and loot those who went on their shores, which was unfortunate for a slow of Chinese traders. It was only by good fortune that they were saved by Legazpi. When the Chinese returned to Manila, it had become a colony under Spain. Upon their return, the Chinese brought silk, food, ironware, ceramics, textiles, and other oriental goods. This influx or new goods paved the way for what would be known as galleon trade. In short, galleon trade helped Manila into a major hub of trading that huge growth in the Philippine economy. In these slides, when Chinese goods arrive in Mexico, there will be some inspection to the goods. Then the most active traders are the clergymen, the religious leaders to represent religious orders. And for vast success of trading, Manila traders were slowly able to gain large influence and wealth. But still, Manila was known not only for tobacco and great seamen, but also became a major provider of raw materials. Next, during the 19th century, the Philippines' economic condition gave rise to haysedas, or better known as the cash crop economy. In this time, large plots of lands were planted cash crops which included sugar, tobacco, abaca, and coffee. Once the open to free trade, the Philippines was able to upgrade from just a simple port to buy things to be a major exporter of their re-owned goods across the globe. This evolution saw a change from barter system to a managed economy.